Hello, it's Gwanta from Radio Wonderland Parliament, and today we have honor to interview Marina Kaljurand, member of European Parliament. First of all, I introduce myself because it's relevant to our topic. I am an international volunteer from Georgia here in France, and the topic of our interview today will be about Georgia and its integration in European Parliament. First of all, again, thank you for accepting my invitation for the interview, and maybe you can introduce yourself as well and tell us more about what you do in Parliament.
Yes, thank you for having me. And integration with the European Union, not Parliament. Yeah, but that's okay. I'm elected from Estonia. I'm a social democrat. This is my first term in the European Parliament, and I'm also chair of the South Caucasus delegation, which means that relations with Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and European Parliament, I'm chairing that delegation. I'm a former foreign minister. I'm a former Estonian ambassador to a number of countries, including Israel, Russia, United States, Canada, Mexico. So being a politician is a relatively new thing for me, but I love it here. I like my work in the European Parliament, and I enjoy very much my cooperation with my Georgian, Armenian, and also Azerbaijani colleagues.
Very nice to hear. First of all, you are, I think, one of the big friends for Georgia in the EU Parliament. So I wanted to a bit share my experience because we Georgian people we are raised to believe that we are Europeans, and when I came here, many people I met, they think that Georgia is too far from Europe or it's not Europe. Why do you think that it is their opinion? Collectively, these people don't know more, too much about Georgia. But why do you think this is main opinion?
I think that there are several stereotypes. Because if you look at the map, well, I'm afraid not all members of the European Parliament can even find where Georgia is, so it's a stereotype, it's over very far. I think the past plays a role, because I think that there is a special attitude to the former Soviet republics. I'm happy to say that the Baltics were the ones to able to join the EU and NATO in 2004, but unfortunately we haven't seen other success stories from the former Soviet Union, so there are skepticism on that side. But those people who know where Georgia is and Georgia's history, I think that they also know very well how Georgian people have a huge support for the European integration. I'd say that the support rate is higher than in many EU countries and many EU states. I visited Georgia several times. I've talked to people there, and I can say that yes, there is a huge wish to be part of the EU, to have the same living standards, to live in democracy, and to have the same freedoms as the EU has. So I think that, yes, as I said, not many people know about it. I also have to say that there is not huge interest towards Eastern Partnership. Ukraine is a special case because of their aggression there, but otherwise, when we have meetings with our Georgian or Armenian colleagues, well, not too many members of the European Parliament show up, because at the moment for many of them there are other priorities. Being it the economy, it was COVID, now it's aggression in Ukraine. So there are several reasons, and not all of them are fair towards your people.
And why is your opinion so positive? I'm guessing it's positive about Georgia to become a member of European Union. Why do you think Georgia should become a part of European Union, and what it could bring on the table for European Union, and the otherwise, what could European Union give Georgia outside?
The EU supports the policy that each and every country has the right to decide to which organization they belong or to which community they belong to. So being neighbor of Russia does not mean that Russia dictates the future of other countries. So Georgia has the right to decide what future they want. And Georgian people have been very vocal. As I said, the support rate is really high. As to the attitude of the EU and the European Parliament, if you look at the recent resolutions, then we have been rather critical, because there are some steps taken by the present Georgian government that we just do not understand why it's needed to be done for a country that wants to be a candidate country of the EU. I don't know, starting with foreign agents law, or violation of the rights of LGBTI community, or impeachment of a president, or very slow progress on the reform of judiciary. So there are many points where we're critical. But EU is critical because EU is a friend. So we want Georgia to be ready to start negotiations with the EU and to accede to the EU. But we will not shut our eyes if there are problems. They've been mentioned, and as you very well know, there are 12 recommendations that European Commission has issued to Georgia, and a couple of weeks ago there was a report on the implementation of these recommendations, which was very comprehensive, which covered all the fields. So it was positive, but it was also critical, and I think that's the right attitude towards Georgia.
I completely understand, but at the same time, I think, in my opinion, Georgian people kind of learned how to manage their government. Like people always try to protest when they think the government is wrong, and lately it mostly has been successful. So maybe it would be like positive. It could add positive attitude to the, how to formulate it, like maybe it could change the opinion of European Union regarding to Georgia, to not consider it as only government, but just consider opinion of Georgian people, because they really mostly manage to control their government with protests, etc.
Well, I sympathize with what you say, but it doesn't fly in the real world. You can't separate people from government. You can't tell people that you're great people, please join EU, but your government will have to wait until they do the reforms. It's not working that way. Georgia is a democracy. Your people elect the parliament, parliament appoints government, prime minister, and so on and so on. So it's the choice of your people whom you elect. And yes, I agree that there was an impact from the protests in the streets against the law on foreign agents. But yes, there were some protests when flights were restored between Russia and Georgia. But yes, at the moment, well, I do not see that. Well, I want the Georgian government listen even more to your people. Because what is the picture of democracy? Real democracy cooperates with all stakeholders, with civil society, with opposition. That's the real democracy. When you have majority, but you listen to minority. And I want to see much more of that in Georgia. Because yes, many laws have been adopted, and according to the constitution, I'm sure they've been adopted legally in a correct way. But in a speedy process, with not enough consultations, with not listening enough to civil society. So there is lots of room for improvement. There is no country in the world which is perfect. So I think that also Georgian people have to understand what they want, and maybe on some points they have to be even more vocal to be listened to.
Okay. And for my last question, Georgian, you know perfectly that Georgian citizen had been shot dead and another detained by Russian troops near the village of Girbali, close to the de facto border of the South Ossetia. And as I know, today's debates about this topic. Maybe you could collaborate a bit more about this topic.
Well, first of all, I have to say that Russia is an occupier, and almost 20% of Georgia's territory is occupied. And we will never forget that. We will never forgive that. We remember here the war of 2008. Maybe some people think that the war in Ukraine has overshadowed Georgia's sufferings. No. Everybody here remembers Georgian war, and nobody wants to drag Georgia into the war with Russia. Although I sometimes hear the voices in Tbilisi saying that EU wants to open the so-called second front and drag Georgia into war. No, we want only peace, prosperity, stability for Georgian people. But Russia as an occupier and aggressor is behaving like an occupier and aggressor. You have to be ready for provocations. You have to be ready for these events which violate international law, human rights law, all aspects of civilized behavior of a normal state. I issued a statement when I heard about the incident, and I really would like to express my deep sorrow for the loss of your citizen. And yes, today we will be discussing it in the European Parliament. I don't think that there will be surprises on that occasion. There will be condemnation of Russian actions. There will be confirmation of Georgian territorial integrity and independency, and there will be confirmation that EU will always stand with Georgia as long as Georgia is on the democratic path, and we will always remind your territorial integrity and safety and independence as cornerstones of your statehood. So no question about that. But yes, unfortunately, especially coming from Estonia, we're living next to Russia. And as long as Russia is like it is, as long as Russia is not a democratic country, as long as Russia is violating international law, we have to be ready for all those violations. A couple of years ago, an Estonian police officer was kidnapped from Estonian territory. So trust me, I know what you feel. And there is no other way than just to ask Russia to be responsible for their actions, to bring them to justice for the things that they're doing in Georgia, but even more importantly, for what they're doing at the moment in Ukraine. So I really do hope that one day we will see Kremlin answering international courts and international community for their crimes.
Thank you for your answer. I think we all hope for that. And I guess we will finish our interview here. Thank you for your support. And in December, there is a European Council will announce about Georgia, if it's going to be candidate or not. Maybe I will add this question as well. What is your prediction about it?
At the moment, I do not see that there can be any restrictions or any problems for the approval from the Council. Because as I said, the Commission's report has been really comprehensive and covering all the fields, and Council listens very carefully to what Commission proposes. At the same time, fingers crossed that nothing will happen in Georgia meantime that might create double thinking or double thoughts about the decision-making process. So I also keep my fingers crossed that you will get the candidate status, because I think what's important to know, at the moment you are behind Ukraine and Moldova. Georgia is behind Ukraine and Moldova. But it doesn't mean that you can't join EU at the same time or even earlier. It's in the hands of your people, it's in the hands of your politicians. So I think it's a positive news. I hope that it will bring positive thinking. And of course we're following your elections. That will happen in less than a year, because democratic country, democratic elections, they have to be conducted in the right way. No, that will give not only hope, but that will be another token of Georgia's democracy.
Thank you again for your answer, and hopefully the answer will be positive, and soon Georgia will be part of European Union. Thank you.